Welcome to the deep dive. So, today we're looking at a pretty complex set of sources, really digging into this multi decade personal history. It's centered around a writer, Jordan, and the key relationships that really define her life, her work.
Yeah, her whole perspective on things like love, ambition, and, moral choices. Our goal here is to sort of pull out the main threads, the core insights from this story about choices made and maybe choices not made.
Okay, so where do we start?
Well, it kicks off in college, a small college, really focused, maybe even intensely focused on English literature. And the whole thing is sparked by this pretty bold move.
The essay.
Exactly, an essay on Bacon's History of Life and Death.
Yeah.
But it's written on this thick neon orange paper. You just couldn't miss it.
A definite statement. And that gets the attention of the key players, right?
Yeah.
Introduce us to the main trio.
Right. So you've got Jordan, who's narrating this whole thing. She's the pragmatic one, the writer in training. Then there's Sam, copper-haired, super smart, but also deeply moralistic, almost rigid. And Yash, also brilliant, insightful, the one with the black ponytail. Jordan sees him, and there's this instant recognition, like he's her intellectual counterpart.
And they connect where? There's this house, right?
Yeah, the Breach House. Sam and Yash are house-sitting it. It's actually named after D.H. Lawrence's childhood home, which is, pretty loaded symbolism right from the start.
How so?
Well, Lawrence was all about that tension, wasn't he? Between, strict social rules and raw physical life. And that's exactly the dynamic that immediately crops up between Sam and Jordan.
Ah, okay. So their connection starts intellectually, talking about Cromwell and stuff.
Yeah, purely intellectual at first, high-minded stuff, but almost immediately you hit Sam's big issue, this deep religious conflict he has.
The thing with his previous girlfriend, Valerie.
Exactly. He tells Jordan that having sex with Valerie basically ruined their relationship. So now he's celibate. And he's convinced, absolutely convinced, it was my fault, because it's always the man's fault.
Wow. And how does Jordan react to that?
She just can't really compute it. She literally says, it feels completely made up to me.
Cool.
She sees his guilt as artificial, while he sees sex purely as this thing loaded with moral consequences.
That's a fundamental mismatch right there.
Totally. Sets them up for conflict from day one.
Yeah.
But despite that, the intellectual connection grows, and Yash is often part of it too.
Is this where the card game comes in?
Yes. Sir Hinkum Funnibuster sounds ridiculous, right?
A little bit, yeah.
But it was this super complex game with these incredibly formal rules. You had to ask for cards using exact polite phrases. Very restrictive.
Okay, so what does that reveal?
Well, it's like a pressure cooker for their personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Sam, Mr. Control, completely loses it physically. He literally jumps up, knocks things over when he has to yell the name of the game.
Huh.
And Jordan. She reveals this fierce, almost scary competitive side. It's kind of a preview of how their relationships play out. The intellectual control eventually just breaks down into something much more volatile.
Interesting. And alongside this intellectual sparring, Yash shows another side, something hidden.
Yeah, this is really important. He reveals he has this connection to a local tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
There was an Iranian girl, Syra, who was murdered after the revolution.
Okay.
And Yash knew her roommate. He was even at the funeral. He mentioned seeing Jordan there, actually, but didn't say anything. It involves this whole story about a discarded sweatshirt.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
Why is that significant?
Because it shows this hidden depth to Yash, this capacity for empathy, but also maybe a tendency to, shy away from messy, difficult connections or truths. He didn't want to admit he was connected to it all.
Right. Foreshadowing. Which kind of leads us to the big bro-up, doesn't it? The car fight.
Oh, yeah. They're driving back from Sam's parents' place, who apparently call him Sam Bam, which is just something.
Bam, bam, bam. Okay.
And the fight is just brutal. Sam completely loses it, calls Jordan impertinent, disrespectful, and unwashed heathen, just rips into her.
And she gives it back.
Oh, absolutely. Calls him a prude. But then all that anger, that fury, it just shatters Sam's carefully constructed moral walls.
And that leads to...
It leads to real sex, as Jordan puts it, right there in the hallway. The moment his code breaks is the moment of, the most intense physical connection they have.
That doesn't last.
Not at all. The joke crashes down on Sam immediately. The very next day, he just tells her, go home. Ends it. Just like that.
Wow. Abandonment number one, driven by his own internal conflict.
Pretty much. He tries a weak apology later. There's a dry note signed Heart the Lover, which George just finds ironic.
Heart the lover from
Yeah.
the guy who just kicked her out.
Exactly. It sums him up, really. He wants the idea of being the lover, but he can't handle the reality of the commitment.
So Jordan moves on. She goes to Paris.
Right. She gets a job, plans to write her thesis there. And who follows her?
Yash.
Yash. Graduates top honors, joins her in Paris. And for a while, it seems perfect. Very literary life, reading Camus in French, trips inspired by the Magic Mountain.
Sounds idyllic. But they still argue.
Oh, yeah. Deep intellectual arguments. Yeah. Jordan holds on to this idea of moral progress, that people can get better. Yash is more cynical. Human behavior doesn't change. It's that friction that fuels them, but it's also, the crack that eventually breaks them apart.
How does it break?
Yash gets a job offer in Paris, something in l'intelligence artificial intelligence. Jordan thinks this is it. They're building a life. But he turns it down. Suddenly decides to go back home to Knoxville to save money for his original plan, which was always moving to New York eventually.
Ouch. From Jordan's perspective, that must feel like a massive betrayal.
Totally. He's choosing this abstract future ambition over their very real present connection. He sees it as practical. She sees it as him running away from real commitment, protecting himself.
And the consequences are devastating. This is the big secret, isn't it?
This is it. Jordan waits for him at the airport. 5 months pregnant with his child.
Oh my God.
And he doesn't show. He reroutes his flight to Atlanta, goes to Sam instead. Doesn't even tell her.
That's unbelievably cruel.
It's the ultimate act of self-protection on his part. And it leaves Jordan completely alone to deal with the consequences. She goes to her mother, gives birth to a daughter, Daisy. She calls her in her head and gives her up for adoption. And she carries that secret for decades.
Okay, so let's jump forward. Nearly 3 decades. Where are they now?
Life has moved on, seemingly. Jordan's married to Silas. They have 2 sons, Harry and Jack. They have a stable life. But then crisis hits on 2 fronts, almost simultaneously.
What happens?
Her son Jack is diagnosed with aggressive brain tumors. He needs incredibly high-risk surgery in Houston. At the exact same time, she finds out Yash has terminal cancer back in Atlanta.
Wow, a convergence.
A massive convergence. Jordan now has to navigate this. She goes to Atlanta to be with Yash, the man who abandoned her all those years ago, while Silas, her steady husband, takes the boys to Houston for the surgery. It's testing every form of commitment in her life.
What's the scene like at Yash's hospital bedside?
It's kind of chaotic, actually. Family's there, March Madness is on the TV, but Sam is a constant presence. Yeah. Sam drove Yash to the hospital. Sam's been sleeping on a cot next to his bed every night. Total devotion.
That's quite a turnaround for Sam.
It really is. And he actually apologizes to Jordan. He admits he is cruel back then, says part of him, wanted to see how things would play out between her and Yash after he pushed her away. It's a moment of real redemption for Sam, finding commitment through friendship.
Okay, so Sam kind of clears the air. Does that allow Jordan to finally...
It does. She waits for a moment alone with Yash. And after 27 years, she finally tells him about Daisy.
How does he react?
Immediately. Tears streaming down his face under the oxygen mask. And his first words are, "Will you tell her I love her? Tell her I'm always rooting for her."
Wow, instant acceptance, no judgment.
None. Just pure paternal love and regret finally expressed. It's the validation Jordan needed for so long.
Does he explain why he left her back then?
He does. He basically says he just freaked out. He was 23, terrified of being saddled with responsibility so young. He didn't want to end up like his own father.
So it goes back to that fear of consequences, that self-protection we saw earlier.
Exactly. Protecting his future, his ambition, over the reality of the present love. And the final thing he gives her really hammers that home.
What's that?
As Jordan's about to leave for Houston for Jack's surgery, she whispers goodbye to Yash. "I have loved you all my life. See you for the next bang."
Right.
He dies shortly after she leaves. Later, she finds a scrap of paper he tucked into one of his books for her. It's a quote from Celine he'd read to her years ago.
What does it say?
It's about regret, about always holding back. "I was always partly thinking about something else, as if I wanted to keep them for something magnificent, something sublime, for later, but not for Molly, and not for this particular kiss."
God, that sums it up perfectly, doesn't it?
It's the thesis of their whole relationship, really. He was always looking ahead, saving himself for some imagined, magnificent future, and missed the sublime thing right in front of him.
So, pulling back, what's the big takeaway from this whole deep dive into their lives?
Well, I think it's fundamentally about the weight of the unsaid, about missed moments. It shows how choosing potential, choosing ambition over present commitment can lead to this profound, lifelong, even generational regret.
And the irony for Yash.
Oh, the irony is huge. He ran from responsibility with Jordan, fearing he'd be saddled like his father. But in the end, he found his deepest sense of purpose and commitment by caring for Sam in his final illness. Sam got the devotion Jordan never did.
And Sam's signature, Heart the Lover, it wasn't really him.
No. In the end, Yash was the one capable of that deep intellectual bond, that final vulnerability, even if it came tragically late. He found that moral progress Jordan believed in, but only after it was too late for their love.
Which leaves us and you, the listener, with a pretty provocative thought, I think.
Yeah.
Given this incredibly passionate, intense, but ultimately tragic connection between Jordan and Yash, and then comparing it to the quiet, dependable life she built with Silas. Does the greatest love have to be a tragedy to feel significant, to be the story we remember?
Or is it that real, steady contentment, like the life with Silas and the kids, just feels less like a grand narrative and more like well, a quiet necessity? Something less dramatic, but maybe more essential in the long run.
Something to think about. We'll see you for the next deep dive.